Okay, so I'm here with my mom, and I'm interviewing her about my great grandma, Glenn, who was her grandma on her mom's side. And she is who I was named after, which I mentioned in my letter. So, what do you remember most about grandma?
I lived about a block away from my grandparents, so I spent a lot of time there. I just remember popping in anytime I wanted, or anytime I needed anything, or anytime I wanted to tell her something, or borrow something from my mom. She just was always there, very convenient.
Like a typical grandma.
Well, I guess.
um, what what was her job growing up? Like, what did she do during her?
She was a licensed practical nurse at a hospital in Grove City.
And she did that every day.
Yes, she did. As long as I remember, she had a job. I never really asked my mom if she worked while she was growing up. I'm not really sure.
And do you know when she retired?
I mean, she was retirement age. I'm sure she was probably, in her early 60s when she retired.
Okay.
She actually had helped me get my job. I got a job as a switchboard operator right out of high school,
In Grove City?
and at the same hospital she worked in.
Oh.
Of course, she had a little bit of pull for me, and that was nice.
So, her being a nurse and your grandma, she like describe her personality, like helpful and caring and
Oh yeah, she was a very, very loving grandmother. She loved all of her grandchildren. She had 9 grandchildren, and six of us were girls. So
was Uncle Kirk the only?
my brother, and then I had 2 cousins,
Oh,
Nathan,
Nathan
Nathan
and
and Ryan, and she loved to garden. She loved to cook. She doted over my grandfather. Of course, if you ask her opinion, you will get what she actually thought. She wasn't going to sugarcoat it or say what she thought you wanted to hear. She would say what she thought, and I appreciated that about her. And she she was a church-going woman. She went to church every Sunday. She was involved in her church. She loved her job.
do you know when her and grandpa got married? Great grandpa got married?
Oh, gee, I don't know what year they got married. I mean, I
Were they
know
young?
I know I have it wrote down somewhere. I'm sure they were probably in their early 20s when they got married.
So they were married for
Oh, they were married 60 plus years when they passed.
and they did they pass away around the same time? I don't really
They did.
remember.
My grandfather died in November of 1999, and then my grandmother died in January of 2000.
Okay.
So they're almost exactly 2 months apart.
Yeah, but yeah, that's
My cousin said that she, at the end of her life, she had Alzheimer's, but she had had a stroke, so had spent 2 weeks in a nursing home right before she passed away. And my cousin said that she had a dream that my grandfather called my grandmother. He said, Amber, it's time to go.
yeah. And then she died.
And she
Yeah.
died the next day after that dream.
That is weird.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Um, were your my mom has a sister and a brother. Were Uncle Kirk and Aunt Robin is close to?
They were. Like I said, we lived down the road, and my sister's only a year younger, and my brother is 8 years younger than I am. But my grandfather, and he exasperated my grandmother because my grandfather, he loved motorcycles and mini bikes and fireworks and guns
Guns
and all,
and
all things that my grandmother considered dangerous, but my grandfather considered a lot of fun. My grandfather had a shooting range in his basement.
could see why Grandma would think that would be
Yeah,
dangerous.
yeah, but she loved him a lot, and you knew it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember. So like, do you have a favorite memory, or do you just?
My grandmother and I every Christmas we would make pizzelles together.
Oh, okay.
We love to make pizzelle cookies. Another favorite memory is my grandmother was always making a quilt for somebody or something, and she was always quilting. So she had these beautiful quilts, and she made your dad and I this beautiful. It was called the Flower Garden quilt when we got married, and it's one of my cherished possessions.
Is it the brown one?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what that looks like.
Um,
I mentioned in my letter to her that we had to write a letter for class about asking permission to write about them.
oh.
And I mentioned Memorial Day. Did Grandma Glenn have Memorial Day? Or did Grandma Kelly have it?
No, it was Memorial Day. The Memorial Day picnic was always at my grandparents' house. Probably, and actually, we even had it at their house. That May after they passed, the very first year after they passed, we still had it at their house because we still had the house there. But oh yes, that was an annual thing from the day from the first year I was born. It was always the big Memorial Day picnic, and then we went to the big Memorial Day parade. So we did that my whole life, and then, after they passed, then my mother kind of took over having it. So to this day we still have the.
That's what I remember the most is Grandma.
Yeah.
And I do remember going there to great grandma's when I was younger, but like I also mentioned in my letter that I was 7 when she passed away. But that's really all I had to ask. So
Okay. All right.
thanks.
Yep.